Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode. Today is gonna be a different one. We're gonna do a top 10 mistakes to avoid in the music production and mixing. So the first one would be layering like a crazy when it's actually no needed. I always try to make sure that I don't layer stuff and I don't keep on adding stuff if it's not needed. Sometimes less is more, especially in this modern music. So it's better actually just to try to change the sound, just to try to add another sound maybe, instead of like just keep on layering if it's not needed. Of course, it's nice to also layer stuff. I always do it, but make sure that you're conscious about what you're doing and without like just adding for the sake of adding stuff. And this one takes us to the second point. The same thing like in the layering case. Also, stop adding plugins just for the sake of it, or stop buying plugins, or buying analog gears just for the sake of like adding stuff, or just for the sake of like having those stuff because that's maybe what you heard that it's needed. It's not always. To be honest, it's also a matter of like choosing the right plugins or the right sounds. And beside that, it's always better to know the plugins that you have, even though they are the stock ones, instead of like, just adding some random plugins just for the sake of it, before actually being informed on what the plugin is doing. Same thing applies to the analog gear as well. There's the myth that you need, analog processing in order to achieve a certain sound. In the modern music, and now in 2023, there's no longer the same need to actually use the analog stuff. You can achieve something that you want only by using, the in-the-box plugins, but it's important, just to know them and to be familiar with them. So in a way, there's no need to find excuses that, other studios or other producers have, certain plugins, or they invested who knows how much in the plugins or in analog gears, and you need those stuff to actually achieve a nice final product. Okay, the third point. Actually make sure that when you're working on the song, you quantize everything properly. Because all the sounds these days might have a little bit of a kind of empty information before, or they might have pops and clicks, so make sure that you always kind of zoom in, let's say like here, make sure that the snares are aligned, make sure that everything is on point, make sure that the kicks again are on point if you're using two, let's say, just zoom in, don't be lazy, try to make sure that everything is, properly quantized. Even if you choose to delay sounds on purpose, that's a good thing. But let's say if you're delaying one hi-hat, make sure you're also delaying the second one, because otherwise you might have all kind of horses running effect. Another one would be the gain staging. Make sure you're really cautious about the gain staging. This also helps you get the most out of the plugins that you're using. All the plugins have a sweet spot. You really need to make sure that you're hitting the sweet spot in each plugin, so this way you don't lose quality and you don't overprocess anything. Another thing you should also be cautious about would be the structure. Make sure your project is structured. Make sure your project is organized. This will improve a lot your workflow, and this way you can always find, if there's a mistake, if there's a problem that you have to fix, or if there's something that the engineer has to fix. Make sure that have everything structured, because this way you can also improve the speed of how things, get done. This takes us to the next point. Make sure that you're not using the quote, "It's gonna be fixed in the mix." It's not gonna be fixed in the mix. Make sure you fix it in the production. Make sure that you're pleased about the elements that you choose in the production. Make sure that you made them properly. Make sure that you have, less mistakes as possible, and pops, clicks, transitions. It's better to double check everything. It's better, just to make sure, or to take an extra day for this kind of stuff, instead of having everything on rush and not being done properly. Don't be afraid to use reference tracks. It's not a bad thing now. Of course, don't start copying, but the whole idea is to actually make sure that you're not getting away from the music standard. Even though it might sound a bit, limiting, you can, of course, go where the creativity takes. But if you kind of want to be in the industry standard, then just make sure that you use reference tracks, and you can always compare it. And of course, then if you take the decision to actually move away from that reference tracks on purpose, then it's all good. Just make sure that you're taking reference tracks. This way you can also achieve the result faster. Just don't be afraid to also take breaks. Your ears might need them, when you're too deep into the song, sometimes, you cannot be objective enough. So make sure that you take a break when it's needed, and you'll see that with fresh ears, you will achieve the results that you want way faster. Now, another important point. People don't tell you that sometimes it can be frustrating. I know that creating ideas, it's always fun, especially when you're in the creative process. But don't forget that a song needs to be finished, because otherwise you end up with having many ideas but not finished one. So yeah, sometimes it can be frustrating. Sometimes there are those kind of technical stuff that you have to go through, especially after the creative process, to fix all the issues, but make sure that you're doing them, because otherwise you might end up with ideas and never with finished songs. And my last point, it's all about the taste and the ears. The taste and the ears, it's not something that can be bought. It's something that you train by listening to music, by doing productions, by doing mixes, by making mistakes. It's okay. It's all good, but make sure you train your ear and at the same time the taste. Because people and clients and artists will come to you for your taste and also for your ears. The taste and your ears also affect the way that you produce, the way that you mix, the way that you balance things out, also the way that you sound design. That's another important fact. So make sure that you train your ears and you improve your taste, because nobody gets born with that. And also, it's very important not to settle. In general, if you're not settling, you can always improve, you can always evolve. And if you choose a sound and you settle on it, thinking that it's okay like this, many times it's not just okay like this. You really, really need to be convinced about it. So don't settle necessarily easy on the decisions that you're making. Of course, it's always about balance. Do not overthink it too much, but at the same time, find the right balance. And the last one, as a bonus, just make sure that you always have a goal and a purpose, When you work, it's good to have a goal. It's good to know what you want to achieve and what's the kind of final result where you want to go, because otherwise you might get distracted from your path. So I hope these tips help. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. And for any questions, feel free to hit us up in the comment section. Hit us up with a message on Instagram. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.